going to start real quick. Just introduce yourself, name and years of service.
Wayne Chandler, 34 years, IFD.
Wayne, talk about where you were born, and if in Indianapolis, what side of town?
Born and raised here in Indianapolis, north side. Born and raised.
Where'd you go to school?
Went to Tech.
Where did you graduate from Tech?
73.
And what made you decide to become an Indianapolis fireman?
When I was little, I lived across the street from the old 22s on 23rd and Carrollton. I always would kind of hang over there, watch them go on runs, watch them how they work. I said, I want to do that. So as I got older, I worked at Methodist Hospital. I said, I got to try for the fire department. So I went and tried. Didn't make it. So, okay, I'll try again. Didn't make it. So then there was a program called the Labor Recruitment Program. And that had firefighters, black firefighters, come into the neighborhood to help show them what the fire department was all about, how to get yourself ready for it. So I went to that. So they showed us what the civil service test was like, so we test. They showed us about the fire department and how they ran the fire department, the engines, the trucks, the equipment. So when I went back for that third time, I made it. The best thing I could ever done.
And what year was that when you finally made it on the fire department?
November 19th, 1979.
Tell me a little bit about what recruit school was like.
Back then, we were at the old Station 1 on West Michigan and White River, the firehouse. That's where we had all our schooling at that time. And I think our class was the first to do the physical fitness stuff. So we would go there in the morning. We had split class. We had 40 people. 20 would go do the physical fitness program, and the other would do suppression there. And so the classroom was the Bay Area, just like this. This is where we did our studying and stuff at. Yeah.
Do you remember your first day on the street?
First day on the street, January 20th, 1980, on a Sunday.
Tell me, do you remember your first run? Not your first fire run, but your first run?
First run was 28th and Central. I was at the 22s. 28th and Central, a furnace fire. Back then, they were still putting some coal in the furnace. So I had to go in there and put that out. That was my big fire, a furnace,
Other than the furnace fire, do you remember your first good structure fire?
Now that I can't remember, the big structure fire. I tried to think about that. I said I just could not do it because I wanted to put down like in a ledger all the runs and stuff, but I can't do that. I know I'll forget something and I would be mad at myself. So the thing that I did remember is my first day on the street. That I do remember.
What was subbing like?
Well, subbing was kind of tough back then. Before we come out into the street, the recruit officers would let you know that it's going to be tough out there. You're going to be doing the dirty work. You're going to be doing stuff you don't think you should be doing. But they said that because they want to test you and see how you react. And that's how they really come to like each other. If you was a person that complained, and can I say the word bitch?
Say whatever you want.
And if you bitch, that right there was a bad mark on you. And you better believe that Centrex would be ringing the next day that you go somewhere else. And they know all about you because of the way you act. There were other houses where the officers, they were great. You look at them and say, yeah, that's what I want to do. I just want to be like him. But then you had some that were lazy. So I can't do that. They had other firefighters that really kind of picked on you. So I said to myself, one day I'm going to get my time on. But, I just tried to show the guys, do your work, have fun. And I did. I tried to have fun while I was subbing, But I knew what was going to go down. Let me tell you one story. I was at the old Fords over on West Street. The officer said, all right, we're going to clean the engine. I said, okay, we're going to clean up the engine. He said, get that raincoat. I said, raincoat? They took the engine down to a truck stop where they cleaned the big 18-wheelers, ran it up on the ramp, get on up under there and start spraying that wheel well, get the oil and stuff off of there. I said, okay. Hold on, went up, got up on there. He looked at me and said, come on off from under there. We were just kidding. So stuff like that, you go ahead and just do it. Hey, they respect you for it.
Okay, give me an officer that you looked up to, somebody you respected.
Well, I had to go with Tommy Arthur. Tommy Arthur was at the 22s. That's where I went regular at. You know, he's a scrapper. You know, John Noon was a strong, quiet officer. And I like them two guys. You know, they didn't really press the issue. They let you know what you need to do, but they didn't press it. Things go wrong, I can hear Tommy, come here, man, come here, let me talk to you. And then Noon, come here, he's quiet. You know, so those two, you know, I said, okay. But then you had others that wanted to let you know that they were in charge. I'm in charge. They want to talk, do this, do that. And then when stuff gets done wrong, they want to chew you out in front of everybody, you know. So I've seen that. So I just try to say, okay, just go with the flow.
Describe for the general public how a fire scene operates and maybe give a sense of the intensity and urgency of fighting a fire.
Well, when people have a problem, say their house on fire, they think you should be there right then and there. We know that once we go, we got to stop at that hydrant, and they want to know, why ain't they hurrying up? They got to get the water there. When I say water, I was on the engine. People always say, why are you breaking out my windows? They don't understand they got to get that heat and smoke out of that house that's burning, because we got to go in there. Also, why are you chopping up my wall? I mean, like you tell them, well, if the fire's in the basement, in these old houses, they don't have fire stops, it goes straight up. And next thing you know, it's up in the attic. So when you tell people why you do things on the fire department, then they have a different outlook on it. They say, oh, I didn't know that. And I say, yeah, a little humor right now. Sitting out front, guy drive by, why don't you guys go do something? Me, go burn your car. I'll be right there. So I just do stuff, you know, just cut the monotony of having fun. But we don't want the public to know that we just sit around and do anything. We do work, especially at night. When they're at home in bed and we out there fighting that fire in that hot, cold night or whatever, they don't see it until the news. But we out there, we go to bed, jump back up, gotta go back out there again. So it's a lot that the public don't know, but they do now, because fire safety and stuff like that we see today, they have a better understanding about what we do.
Why do you think IFD is known as an aggressive interior attack fire department?
Well, that's probably from the old school, because you had guys there that would race to see who would get there first to put that water on there. And that's how they bring it down to tradition. But now sometimes I think that you got to be careful with that, because, you know, you got more cars on the street and stuff like that, the weather conditions, and you don't want to get in no accident trying to get to that fire. But I think it's still there, but it's more of a slowed down process.
Just describe a little bit, if you were describing to the general public about the difference between an engine and a truck, and maybe include some friendly little banter between the truck man and engine man.
Well, like I said, I was on the engine, and the engine carries the water and the hose. And people say, well, what's that? Well, that's when they stop at that fire hydrant, wrap that that plug, and bring that water to the fire. The truck is the one that got forcible entry tools. Like, we can't get in, they break that door down for us, we go in. They got the ladders on the truck. And then the longer ladders that you might see with the aerial up, that's in case they get to get higher up to shoot that water. That's what the truck does. Now, between the truck and the engine, the rivalry, mostly of that's in the house, you know, mostly that. You might play basketball or something against the engine and the truck crew. We got a game they call the marbles. You go with that, and it's just the camaraderie that you have amongst each other. Now, there's times when things get out kind of heated, and you see the other side of each other, and then that's when everybody, let's stop it, because it's nothing but like a house, a family, and so we don't like to take things personally, just having fun.
Did you get to ride on the tailboard, on the actual backstep?
I did.
Tailboard.
Now, that was an experience that you would have to really be careful. You know, I try to remember, how did I put my coat on and hold on at the same time? What did I do? So I think what happened was you always have your boots on first, get up there. Your coat would be laying up in the bed on the engine, like I said, and then put that one arm in there, put that coat on, grab that bar again, put your coat on, then you put your helmet on. But it's an experience. You got to be careful because you could fall off. And the one run that I can remember so vividly is like at the 25s on the back step, and it was snowing and it was cold. So by the time we got there, I'm so cold I didn't know what to do. So when we were coming back, come on up front with us, you know. It was still an open cab, come on up front, but I tell you, it's an experience.
Now, off script a little bit, talk about riding on the tailboard. Was that something you did as you were in recruit school? Did they teach it? Or
yeah.
Was there like an older guy that would show you how to do it? How'd you learn how to do it?
Well, the recruit school, we did that with the old Maxims. It's just like this one here, the firehouse at the old ones, there's just like a little street that was behind the firehouse, and we didn't lay out long. We just say, catch that plug, now this is what you got to do, you know, get dressed, you know, and they showed us how to do it. And thinking about what you said there, like I said, all our training was at that one little spot. Compared to what it is now, you had 10th and Post, you had Wayne Township where they work at now. So it was a big difference from back when I was doing it. So it worked. It worked.
Describe to me some of the old IFD traditions that are important, that you feel important to hang on to.
Well, first and foremost, seniority. I mean, that's the one I always say, because right now, as I'm retired, you can see things change a lot. So I think seniority amongst the department should be kept in place. Really, other things, I mean, they change, but that is the one thing that always stuck in my mind that we should never lose is our seniority on the job, because you work so hard to get that.
We're considered among, the country really about being an aggressive fire department. Are you proud that you were part of that?
Oh yes, most definitely. Sometimes I sit back and say, wow, did I do all that? Did I actually run in there? I mean, and I did. And as I think back about it, I remember when you get the new sub coming in, you get behind them and you kind of push them. Come on now, get in there. They back up a little bit. I said, no, come on. Then you hate to take the line from them and go on there, but that's what you have to do sometimes.
Talk about a little bit about, about downtime in the firehouse. Cooking meals. What do you do to pass the time when you're not fighting fire?
Well, mostly some of the guys that you work with, they had other jobs that they did paperwork or stuff like that, playing games around the house, basketball and stuff like that, volleyball. Some people work out. For the cooking part of it, some houses rotate men cooking. Sometimes a sub might get kind of beat. He cooked the first time he was there. He has his 2 days off. Just happened to have to cook again, because they always have that story, doggone it. Don't get mad at us, but it's your turn to cook again. So those are the things that the sub would have to realize it would happen. And me personally cooking, I tried to give a meal 12 o'clock hot, 6 o'clock hot. And so before I left, somebody made a little complaint. I didn't like this. I said, what? You didn't like it? I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to cook this every time I cook before I leave this job. And I did. I said, that's what you get.
How did EMS change the fire department?
EMS, when I came on, only the squads were doing EMS. And then they made the move that everybody was going to do it. And then, like I say, I was on Engine 22. We went EMS. Then they started progressing to AEMT, which I went into that. That's when they was showing you how to read the rhythms on the strips. And then the paramedic stuff came about. I personally didn't want to be no paramedic because that was almost a year worth of studying for those guys. And those guys that made it, they did good. It was great. I think one guy was at the 22s that did the first class, Todd Felgen, now Chief Felgen. He did it, and he did real good, and I have to give him credit, you know. While I'm saying this, I notice as time goes on, when they are privates and then they go up the rank, they change a little bit, you know. I said to myself, boy, ain't that the same guy that did this, did that? Oh, man, yeah. So I see what happens on this job. Once you make that move to go up the ranks, you have to change your attitudes. But the guys below you, like say backstabbers, we always look at you as that to see if you would actually change your ways, you know, still be yourself. But I see they had to change.
Give me an example of a close call you may have had on a fire.
Well, there are only two close calls that I tell people about because I don't like to really tell them too much because I get back to my wife and she gets nervous. Anyway, one was of 23rd and Central, had a little residence fire. So as I was crawling in with the hose, I fell through the floor. There's a hole in the floor. Didn't see it, too much smoke. And it's ironic how you try to hold on to that hose and think, like, hey, I can climb back up. Wasn't happening. With all that gear on, I couldn't hold on. I fell right through the basement. And when I fell, there was a table with the legs up, and it came and just creased my ear. And I'm thinking, Lord have mercy, I'm so glad the fire wasn't in the basement. But, you know, to get knocked out, you know, would have been something to it. Just fell, looked up, got my bearings, saw some light. There was the side door to get out, so I got out on that one. And then another one, we had a little fire at it was like a oil refinery, a little small one on the west side. And as I'm crawling in, the fire was in the back. Crawling in, I kept hearing some noise. Boom, 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 boom. I said, what is that? So I'm steady crawling, get to the fire, put it out. So I come back out, you know, all on me black, and I said, what was that noise? Go back in there, 55-gallon drums heating up, expanding. I said, boy, I'm so glad they didn't explode while I'm in there because, you know, didn't know they was even in there. So those are the two stories.
How have you seen the department change?
Well, let's see. When I came on, Byrona Slaughter was the first female, black female. She was gone when I came on in '79. Then the other women started coming on to the job. And I noticed the change of the men because you couldn't do the horseplay and stuff like that. We had to go through a lot of different training, you know, what to do around the firehouse when you have female and stuff like that. Some of the houses were changed inside for quarters for the female. I noticed when we went to EMS, there was a lot of guys that didn't want to do that. They said especially the older guys, they were ready to retire and do that. But at that time, we didn't have a lot of fire. You know, EMS was bringing in more of the runs and stuff. On the engines and stuff back then when I came on, it was 2.5 hose that we would lay out from a hydrant. It changed to 3-inch hose from a hydrant. Then that changed to 5-inch hose from a hydrant. Then we went with the different coats that we wear back then. We had that neoprene coat, which me, myself, personally, was the best coat ever. Get wet with ice and all, and just flex your muscles and they come off. Now in the summer, it'll be hot. Now the new coats is supposed to be like fire retardant and stuff like that for safety and stuff like that. I think since I was done, I think we changed 3 different coats. The gloves, we had the rubber gloves back then, little orange rubber gloves. The only thing bad about them, you get a little heat on them, they opened up. But the ones we got now, they just keep that wetness, you know, and your hands get cold in the wintertime. Another good thing that's changed was from the day boots that pull all the way up to your thigh was the night pants, the bunker pants. And the day that they told us that we were going to those, we had a fire, and I climbed through a window and I sat down on the windowsill, and I felt that heat hit the nuts. I said, oh, hurry up with those new bunker pants. But yeah, other than that, like I said, the change of the department, you know, chiefs and stuff like that. And then before I left, it was the townships merging. And me, myself, personally, I had no problem with it. It's just like I said, you know, just new people that you're going to meet again. You know, I guess what I didn't understand was the way the township people fought their fires compared to how we fought ours. And like I said earlier, that we are aggressive. And then I heard prior to me leaving the job that some of the old township people wouldn't go in until their chief gets on the scene and tell them go in. And I said, I can't believe it. But the rumor was that did happen. But like I said, eventually, you know, we go in and they go in too. And another thing, I didn't know what these words were when we fought fires. Rehab. I said, what's rehab? I found out that when they get in a fire, they get tired, they go rest. I said, we didn't do that. We go in, change our bottles, we go back in. So then before I left the job, I said, I'm going to rehab. I said, I love rehab.
Tell me a little bit about some of the bad things you've had to deal with that the public might not fully understand.
Some of the bad things.
Unrelated, firehouse related, anything.
Well, I'm trying not to, you know, I really try not to talk about bad things about the job. I think if things were bad in-house or at the firehouse, I'd rather for it to stay there. Only bad thing that I could say outside the fire department is when people don't understand when we see death. We have to take that back home with us. Some people can't take that sight of death. And my first death was 23rd in Columbia. I knew the house because I went over on first aid, and I knew the guy was in a wheelchair. And when we got there, fire blowing out the windows, and I said, man, I know this guy still might be in there. So we put the fire out, overhaul and stuff. And right before we was getting ready to leave, in the corner of the doorway, there he was. And that there sticks in my mind, my career. That was my first fatality. And that sticks in my mind. I try not to really talk about stuff like that because I don't want to just bring those memories up.
What advice do you have for the younger generation coming out of the fire department?
I would tell them that they had to take this job seriously. It's life or death. You can't go in playing around on your job thinking like it's going to be a everyday thing. Oh, we did this before. Take it seriously. Take all the advantages of promotion if you want to get promoted. The other things that could bring to you, like arson or fire prevention, that you can take that skill and get another job and stuff once you leave the fire department. Treat the job like you would want it to be treated, you know. Respect the job because other guys before you have done that. You know, you don't want to, you know, take the fire department for granted.
I like it. What do you think about when you look back at your IFD experience?
I'm glad that I went back after missing the first time I went. The second time I went, I missed it. I said, I'm still glad I went that third time. So that right there, I'm glad I tried again and I made it.
Okay, how would you describe this profession to someone who knows nothing about it? Somebody shows up, you got to tell them about the fire department.
Well, first and foremost, the fire department is a family-oriented like job. You come to work, you sit here with individuals that you never met before, 24 hours a day. Sometimes you go from house to house to house, you got different personalities. It's a job that, it tests you. It attests you. You have your good days and your bad days. You have days where you say, well, I wish I had never done this. But then you sit back and say, I'm glad I did because you helped somebody that day. Maybe you saved somebody that day. And people appreciate that. They appreciate it by when they come by the firehouse and give you some donuts to let you know that they appreciate what you do for them. And say those words, I really didn't know what you really did until I seen it for myself.
If you were ever injured on a fire, can you describe that experience?
Thank God I was never injured on the fire. Never. Where I had to go to the hospital, whatever. Thank God. And I say I'm blessed with that because I told the guys in my recruit class, if I make it to 32 years on the job, I said, I'm gone. 32 in a day. I said, I'm gone. Because I was blessed that I had my health and everything. So I was blessed.
Were you ever involved in any successful rescue?
Well, I don't call mine a rescue. It's just like, hey, don't jump. The fire's over there. You put up a ladder, come on down. But the only incident that 22s that had was 39th and Hillside. I have to say, John Anderson, we both went in on a residence fire. It was entrapment. And as we go in, I hear John holler. It was a baby. I got her. I said, well, come on, let's get out. I don't know where to go. I can't see. I don't know. So the window was to our left, and I grabbed him, and I said, come over here to the window. And I pushed him out toward the window, got the little baby out and everything. We come on out, and it was a good little save. And I give John the credit, and he was a truck man, and he made it in there and got him out. And so that was the rescue that I say that was real.
That's good. That's awesome. Any funny memories about the fire department?
The funniest one for me that I always would tell other people is when the recruits come out or when they subbing. George Simonton. George would have the fire department uniform on with captain bars, and then he would go up to them and, how you doing? And the look on their face, it's like, is he really a captain? But George is one heck of a guy. He's a good man, and the fire department takes care of George, and we appreciate him. That's the funniest thing, to see the expression on their face.
Okay, how does the term he was a good fireman mean more than the average person thinks it does? What does that mean, being a good fireman?
Well, I guess you got that one individual that really loved the job and really wanted to take that tradition and show it to other guys coming on. Give you the right information, tell you the things that you really would need to know to continue your career on this job. It's just a few, because some people would keep stuff to themselves and not let you know about this job. And one thing that I know one of the old guys told me, he said, when you get ready to leave this job, you'll know it. He said, your body will let you know. And my body let me know when I put that tank on my back. When I put that tank on my back, I said, man, I feel like I'm carrying a midget. And it would just wear me down. And that brought to the point where I said, it's time to go. I'm not going to fight this. I got my 32 in. I said, it's time to relax and enjoy retirement. That was my goal, to enjoy retirement.
What do you miss most about the job?
The guys. I miss the guys. I said, especially the guys that you were at the house last, where you retire out of, like I said, 22s. You got your A and B shifts, C shift. You just miss those guys. Now I tell them, and I tell it to the camera, I don't miss the job, but I miss the guys.
I got just one. That's an easy one. Do you have a special sense of pride that you actually lived in a community that you served for so many years? Is that something that you kind of?
I was gonna ask the same thing. It's like, I think
You-
it's fascinating that you started out.
You would be surprised how people look at you knowing that you're a firefighter in the community where you grew up, the kids that knew you as they grew up, and they always say, Wayne, you a fireman, ain't you? I said, yeah, little man. Yeah, I said, yeah. And you could be one too. You know, you encourage them to do that. And to know where to go in the area when we go on runs, know where I'm going. And it's interesting. And you see people that you know in the neighborhood, they might be irate and mad, and they see you, they calm down. Wayne, yeah, calm down, we here. And so it takes a lot of pressure off of situations growing up in the neighborhood that you live in and people know you.
You got any more?
Excellent.
Yeah. You got any more? Anything you want to expound on?
Well,
Anything.
yeah. Like I said, man, I'm just glad that I did the job. I'm glad I made it. I have no regrets. I have nothing bad to ever say about the fire department. I've seen it grow. The only thing I would say that I would always tell the guys, let's keep ourselves from getting noticed from downtown. We don't want downtown coming to the firehouse. Everything we do, let's do it right, so they have no reason to come and look at us. Because 22s, we're surrounded by new houses, and we could be gone like that. But like I say, the less that you complain about and do your job, I think you'll be all right.